As a family, much love to you. Give thanks and praise to Creator, you might conceive him or her to be. Now, because you're an actor doesn't mean you're not smart, because a lot of comedians are very, very smart. A lot of actors, we get think because they're actors, they get playing a part, they get getting paid to acting. Well, we know that people like Denzel Washington is very smart. Now, I'm watching a clip on Terrence Howard. Very intelligent actor. Well, he's not really an actor. He's an actor, yeah, but he's very intelligent. It just goes to show that because some person is posting YouTube channels or posting YouTube videos or they're twerking, they have a life. They have a life outside of what they're doing, and it doesn't really coincide with what they're actually seeing. They're portraying on one side of their acting skills. Now, anyway, before we go any further, this video I'm posting here is just for informational purpose only. I do not own the copyright of the video. It's for informational purposes only and for education and for awareness purposes only. I do not own the copyright. So, folks, here we go.
Ask a question. You seem to be sitting on a wealth of knowledge and something you've been working on for 40 years. I was going to ask, how are you living day-to-day life knowing that the rest of the world is doing it, quote unquote, incorrectly?
Well, it's been 40 years of me dancing on this thing. For 40 years, I was told I was wrong. For 40 years, I was told that, the Platonic solids and all those were the solids. You have to have faith in self. All of this, I can sit up here and tell you guys that, I'm the smartest man in the world. I figured out what Da Vinci and none of them could do. The truth is, you really want to know the truth? This may be crazier than the fiction. The truth is, I woke up inside my mother's womb at about 6 months of age. I woke up inside of there. Like, boom. I don't know what had happened. Maybe my mother went through some trauma or whatever. But I woke up and I was like, oh, God, I'm here. I'm here. Don't forget. This is truth. Don't forget. Just go by. Every once in a while, I would think about something and this would come over. And I didn't know it was my hand. I thought it was a friend. I had my whole name for it. Inside that womb, you were conscious. You woke up because with our son Kieran, when he was my wife was 6 months pregnant, we would put the light on her stomach and he would follow it and push on it. And then we'd put the music and we'd put it all the way over to the other side and he would crawl all the way over to the other side of the stomach and push at the light with the music. So what I'm saying to you, you are conscious inside the womb, but we have no common frame of reference. But I remember, don't forget, because I knew I'd been here. Don't forget. You know what I didn't want to forget? This flower of life. Because apparently I'd been interested in it at a given time. And I came out and I was born. The first thing I thought about when I was 5 years old, I was obsessed with bubbles. I was like, why does a bubble take the shape of a ball? Why not a square or a triangle? And I would go and try and make square or triangle of bubbles. And we could never do it because it turns out everything expands as a sphere and everything contracts in geometric form. You drop a pebble into the pond, it expands in a perfect sphere unless there's something in the way. The moment it hits the edge of the shore and starts to come back, it's the contracting waves that hit the expanding waves that creates the initial geometries. Everything expands as a sphere, everything contracts in geometry and fits, basically. So what I'm saying, and what I tried to tell you guys earlier, this is not your first time, it's not your first rodeo, and it won't be your last rodeo. Don't panic in this life. You can act.
Okay, well, he's going to say, I said in previous videos that energy doesn't dissipate, it transfers. And he's going to say the same thing. And we've been here before and we'll keep coming back. We'll keep coming back until we get it right. And as long as you get it right, you don't have to come back no more. He's actually going to say the same thing. Not to say that I'm smart, because no, I would never say that. But that's what I learned over the years, that we keep coming back until we get it right. Okay, here we go.
Actually, there's no sense of death. Everything goes to sleep and it wakes back up again. refolds and unfolds, refolds and unfolds. And if you're wise, if you're careful, because you can remember conscious moments in your life, can't you? You can remember moments when you're like, wait a minute, I'm in a bigger space than just this little body right here. You become fully aware of everything around you. And if you quiet yourself, you can think about those things. Well, apparently I did that at the last passage, because when I came into this life, I woke up, remember, don't forget, don't forget, don't forget, don't forget, don't forget. And the first thing I did was worked out the flower of life. When I was 6 years old, I started making these pieces. What Da Vinci tried to do at 80, I did at 6 years old because I'd been working on it perhaps from a past life. Now, I'm not trying to say I'm crazy or there's reincarnation or anything, but we know that energy does not die. Energy just reboots itself.
Transfers. It don't dissipate.
So we are eternal. So stop panicking, thinking your life is over. You've done this trillions of times. You'll get good at it and we'll be perfect one time if we get conscious. But we have to get conscious. Because I can either say I'm the smartest man in the world, that I figured out what nobody else in the world could figure out. With Aristotle, with
Da Vinci.
Plato, Pythagoras, all of them tried to figure this out. But I know I am not smarter than these men. So I know that there's something to the consciousness of carrying things through. Because the information and knowledge that I have, I didn't go to school. I had a 1.6 grade point average graduating from high school because I had other things to do. But this information kind of educated me along the way because I was born into it. And now I have the pieces to follow it, and hopefully Chris and maybe Oxford and some of it will do some of the vetting for these things, and we can change the world.
Thank you so much. I've always been interested in acting, so it's pretty cool to be in the presence of an actor. But my question actually has to do with your numbers theory. So if by your logic you say 1 times 1 equals 2, are you insinuating that 1 times 0 then equals 1?
Equals 1. Well, that's what we were saying with the identity principle. The identity property, it says that 1 times nothing equals nothing. Something, so now you have the laws of physics have to now adjust because something just disappeared. Conservation of energy. Energy can't be created or destroyed. So if 1 times 0 equals 0, then what happened to the energy of the 1? Isn't that the same problem that Stephen Hawking was talking about with the event horizon and the information going in and still being present? That conflict that was started? Well, that's because of the math. The principles in the math are not founded on truth. It's not founded on substance. The identity principle, anything times 0 is 0, and anything times 1 is 1. Where is that number? Where is that exemplified in nature or in universal phenomena? Is it? Do you see that?
So then, are you saying that 1 times 5 would be 6?
Yes. Well, what does it say in the associative and commutative thing?
So you're
if A and B
proposing...
are positive integers, it says if A and B are positive integers, A is to be added to itself as many times as it's indicated by units in B.
So you're not proposing an audit, you're proposing like a
I'm not the first one to
of
say
the way
we
we
need to do
understand
this.
math.
You know what's interesting? In 1856, a man from Liverpool named Richard Dover Statter challenged the Dewey Decimal System and said that it was wrong and created an entirely new system to show how it can be brought into correction. So I'm not the first person to say this. It's a number of people did it, but look up Richard Dover Statter. Try and find him. You won't find him because he's been erased from history almost. But what is the thing called, honey? Dewey Decimal System as a whole. The Dewey Decimal System as a whole. And you will see that we are headed to, the Titanic is headed to an iceberg over there with our numbers. If we don't make a change soon, we're going to crash as a species because our math needs to work in order for our science and our future to develop.
Sorry, one last question. I'm so sorry.
Go ahead, girl.
Do you think it's our do you think that the reason that we have like economic crises, for example, is because we are not understanding our numbers correctly according to your theory?
Well, I think we have an economic problem because we are the only creatures in this universe that use currency. There are no other creatures that use currency in order to exist. Why is it that we chose this strange thing that isn't even real? Other creatures, they drink water, they eat fruit, they eat other animals. We exchange with currency, and our system of exchanging with currency is flawed because of greed. There's not
True.
like if 1 times 1 equals 2, we've got an equilibrium of balance. 1 times 1 equals 1, you've got loss. When 1 times 1 equals 3 or more, you're talking about over unity and supersymmetry. And that's how you get the universe to work for you. Instead of using just the solar voltaics off of it, you also use the piezoelectric effects of it. You use other things to make greater unity. But 1 times 1 equaling 1, when it could also equal pound times a pound equaling the pound, when it could also equal $4 or $10 or $100. Does that make sense to you? Do you think the banks are abusing that? What's a quarter times a quarter? If I ask anybody in this room, what's a quarter times a quarter? That's 25 times 25. The computer will the calculator will tell you 6.25 cents. But we know 25 pence times 25 pence is 625 pence. That's 6 pounds and 25 pence, but the computer or the banks only have to give you 6 1/4 cents reference.
So the banks are robbing you.
Or let's say you put a dime times a dime. Let me get this out. Say you take a dime times a dime. You put that in your calculator. It says 1 cent. 0.10 times 0.10 is 1 cent. But we know a dime times a dime is a whole dollar. But the banks gives us money based on that evaluation. Is that fair? And I might get shot about talking about this right now, but I've got a book coming out called Does $1 times $1 equal $1, or does $1 times $1 equal $2? And in the process, not only do I explain the death of the Platonic solids, but I also introduce the new Terrian wave conjugations that replace this Euclidean way of life and gives us a 3-dimensional way of seeing the world. That's what I'm saying. Do you want to see the world in 2D or do you want to see it in 3D?
Thank you.
Because our math right now is 2D. Our math is black and white and stick figures. I want the world in multicolor spectral vision.
You manage to access all this information.
Electrical impulses. Every cell knows and talks to every other cell. They exchange 1,000 bits of information between them per second. Cells group together.
This movie is very interesting. It's called The Cell.
Which in turn forms matter. Cells get
Lucy.
together, take on one form, deform, reform. Makes no difference. It's all the same. Humans consider themselves unique, so they've rooted their whole theory of existence on their uniqueness. One is their unit of measure, but it's not. All social systems we put into place are a mere sketch. 1 + 1 = 2. That's all we've learned. But 1 + 1 has never equaled 2. There are, in fact, no numbers and no letters. We've codified our existence to bring it down to human size, to make it comprehensible. We've created a scale so that we can...
I think the movie is called Lucy. Check it out. Very interesting.
But if humans are not the unit of measure, and the world isn't governed by mathematical laws, what governs all that?
Film a car speeding down a road. Speed up the image infinitely, and the car disappears. So what proof do we have of its existence? Time gives legitimacy to its existence. Time is the only true unit of measure. It gives proof to the existence of matter. Without time, we don't exist.
Okay, folks, you got it. Okay, so that movie is called Lucy, The Cell. Check it out. It's very interesting. Very, 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 very interesting. I should have it in my collection over here, but now that I saw it here, I should watch it again. Folks, I love you guys. Peace out. You love and kind and giving and caring. Humble thumbs up. Share the video. Like, subscribe. I love you guys. I'm out of here. Peace out. One love.